think about the phrase that you probably remember from that. You probably don't remember anything that any of the participants said, but you might remember what Greta Thunberg said, that all the promises and all the discussions going on in that room were just blah, blah, blah. What she meant by that was, no matter what the promises were being made, they weren't enough. What we saw from COP26 was, even if every single government meets all of the promises that they have signed up to from COP26, then we're looking at a global temperature rise of about 2.4 degrees, which is above the 2-degree Paris ceiling, which says anything above 2 degrees is absolute catastrophe. So we've managed to reduce the global climate emergency from absolute catastrophe of 3+, 4+, 5+ degrees to the absolute catastrophe of 2.4. It's not enough. And that's assuming every government meets its promise. And that includes Scotland. What we're seeing from Scotland is we have world-leading targets, we're told, but we're seeing that those targets aren't enough. We're seeing that the policies that are being put forward by the Scottish Government to reach those targets won't reach those targets. And we're seeing that the actual actions to take us to those promises, to those policies, aren't enough to reach those promises. So the targets are too low, the ambitions are too low, and the actions are lower still. But they're also going in the wrong direction. This is what I mean when I say the difference between net zero and a Green New Deal. What does net zero by 2045 actually mean? It means that Scotland promises that it will keep polluting until 2045, and then it will stop. It will stop being a net harm to the world. No discussion about all of the historic harms that Scotland has caused to the world. We are one of the richer nations in the planet. We are part of the net contributors to the global climate emergency. And we're not going to fix any of that. We're just going to say, after a while, we're going to stop harming the planet. And we're also not going to do anything about anything other than carbon. We're not going to address the soil degradation that is ruining farmlands in Scotland and abroad. We're not going to do anything about deforestation. We're not going to do anything about all the plastic we keep using and littering. And we might not even stop drilling for oil, because net zero says that as long as you do something carbon capture-ish at the other end, then you can keep polluting, actually. And as long as the accountant tells you that your books are balanced, then everyone can agree that your books are balanced. We see that especially with the UK government's net zero plans, by the way. Their net zero by 2050 plan actually says that there will be zero reduction in oil extraction from Britain. And we saw just today that Rishi Sunak is promising an 80% tax reduction to oil and gas companies if they invest in more oil extraction instead of paying their windfall taxes. Another thing that net zero doesn't do is change the society and the economy that caused the climate emergency. It just puts a patch over it. So I'm going to paint a little picture of a net zero world from your eyes. Let's say right now that you're spending a lot of time commuting to work every day. You spend it in a traffic jam. You can be spending an hour or 2 hours every single day of your life stuck in this traffic jam going to and from work. A net zero future says that that won't change. You'll still be in that traffic jam. It's just that you'll be driving an electric car now instead of a diesel one. Let's say it's winter, it's cold. You can't afford to put the heating on, and your house is so badly insulated that even if you do put it on, as soon as you turn it off again, you're cold within an hour or 2 minutes even. A net zero future says that that could still be the case. It's just that now, instead of a gas boiler or an oil boiler, you've got an electric air source heat pump, and you're running it off a renewable wind turbine somewhere. So you still have fuel poverty. You're still paying your electricity now for your heating. And a net zero future doesn't necessarily change the way the electrical grid is formed. Right now, essentially, when electricity is produced, it's sold into this UK market at the highest price. So when the price of gas spikes, the price of your wind energy also goes up, despite the fact that it doesn't cost any more to produce energy from wind. When the gas price goes up, it's completely unrelated, yet the market says it is. So all of you, including myself, who's on a 100% renewable electricity tariff right now, are paying through the nose for electricity because of a global gas crisis. A net zero future doesn't promise that it will do anything about that. So when we sat down and we started writing the Green New Deal plan, we started from the premise that this isn't just a problem with carbon. It has to address all aspects of the climate emergency. It has to address all aspects of the problems in our economy and our society that have contributed to that climate emergency. And only when you fix all of them can you say that you're living in a Green New Deal.